Hi everyone, welcome to this year's PDC 2022. So we've already done one welcome this morning, but it's great to see so many of you here again this afternoon. So I'm Rachel Clarke, one of the co-hosts co-chairs for the conference, and I'm joined with today with Yoko Akama from RMIT, University on Kulin Nation, and John Vines from University of Edinburgh in the UK. So thanks for joining us. And just to say a quick thank you as well to Open Lab at Newcastle University, the Design Informatics at University of Edinburgh, and SIGCAI and Northumbria University who have provided a lot of support for these sessions. So first off, if we could have the next slide, please, John. So to give an acknowledgement of traditional custodians and territories. So I give thanks to the stewards of the land, past and present, in the borderlands of North East England, which is where I am today. So the violent cracks and forces of windsill, igneous granite and delicate fossilised seabed sleeping in the cracks of the hills and coast of Northumberland. The farmer, miner, geologist, engineer, the warrior, Roman, Pict, Celt, Viking and Reaver, the bishop, monks, the Farne Islanders, the unionist, workers, slave migrants and fishers. Each have exploited and cared for the land, minerals and its creatures. I acknowledge my privilege benefiting from this land and labour alongside my ancestors' migrant her stories entangled in nationhood that I now call home. So also to give thanks, part of opening the conference is to pay gratitude to all the chairs and authors, reviewers, volunteers, programme committee, who have dedicated huge amounts of time over the last 4 years, but specifically in the last 6 months, and over the next few weeks as we kick off with our exciting programme. And also for those who have tirelessly cared for their families and friends and provided continuous support to communities in times of extreme distress during the COVID pandemic. So we'd like to say thanks to you. And also to just share some condolences. So this has been an unusual conference to organise for very many reasons. And one of those is some of the people we've lost in the community. So we wish to convey our condolences for those who have passed away and have been impacted severely by the pandemic and all kinds of losses that people have experienced during this time. But also it's a time for celebration. So we have a new PDC baby. One of our chairs had Eden a few weeks ago, little baby Eden, our chair Callie Gatehouse, who can't be with us today. And we have celebrations in our Artful Integrators and David Hacken Awards, which we will be celebrating in person on the 1st of September with the award winners, who will be travelling from South Africa and Uruguay. And also just to say a big thanks to Ellen McConnell. So Ellen has been fantastic in developing the branding for the conference. So Ellen was a student of Joyce Yee's at Northumbria Design School. And the branding explores the idea of relationships and connections, living things, scale, biology, geography, and many things more. So the contours of mountains and flowing rivers highlight the geographical and biophysical elements of the PDC 2022 conference and some of the themes we shared with Ellen to try and develop a brand. So these large aspects of the environment stress the idea of scale, which are paired with illustrations of ambiguous and naturalistic shapes that could represent the small end of the scale, like the microorganisms, cells, or neurons. This represents the wide-reaching scope of expanding cosmologies which we've tried to capture with the audience. Using hand-drawn mark-making and the natural texture of paper mirrors this concept. The soft handmade qualities paired with the bold digital colouring creates a contrasting balance. And Ellen came to us she is a really incredible illustrator, and so it was wonderful to work with somebody who's so confident and expressive with different drawings and media. So thank you, Ellen. And I then hand over to John to do some more welcomes and introductions.
Some more talking and welcoming. Yes, thanks a lot, Rachel. And yeah, hello everyone. It's wonderful to be with you, and thank you for giving up your time to be at the welcome address number 2 for PDC 2022. We really hope you're going to enjoy our exciting program over the next 2 weeks, basically. Although, of course, there's been lots of activities already going on at the various PDC places around the world, which I will bring some attention to in just a moment as well. But what I want to spend a bit of time on really is talking a little bit about the general approach that we've taken to putting this conference together. And to begin with, I just want to make a few remarks really about some of the guidance we're providing in terms of how we would like people to conduct their engagements and interactions with each other through the conference, and what we call our Being Together guide, which you can find on the main conference website if you want to look at it in a lot more detail. But basically, we want really what we want to be trying to ask you, all participants in the conference, to do as we go ahead, is to be kind and mindful of differences of any kind, and to be patient with how other people might be expressing themselves, but also to be patient with some of the technical constraints and the hiccups that might be happening with the conference. This has been a complex conference to organise and to put together, with quite a lot of things going on in the background. And the technology seems to be pretty robust, but perhaps our understanding of some of the technology isn't always as robust as it could be. So there might be some hiccups along the way, and we're sorry about that, but please be patient with everyone. We would wish that you all enter our spaces to listen deeply and to participate with respect. We ask people to please mute themselves when they're in the session and when they're not the actual speaker, and to avoid interrupting the presentations that are going on by distracting other attendees. Now, in the big plenary sessions like this, which are going to be in the Zoom webinar mode, that won't really be an issue. But there's also a lot of sessions, workshops, situated actions, and the exploratory paper sessions, for instance, that will use the meeting mode, where you will be able to have your video on and be able to unmic yourself. So just be aware of these things when you're in those sessions. Please be careful with your choice of words and endeavour to make your expressions and language inclusive. Please do not judge or trivialize others, and phrase any critiques respectfully with constructive advice. And please avoid generalizations as much as possible by anchoring your perspectives in direct experiences or personal observation. Now, throughout the length of the conference, for the online main program, we're going to be recording sessions, and that's just going to happen by default as you join a session. If you're in one of the sessions where cameras can be visible, feel free to keep your cameras off. You can change your names as well to de-identify yourself on Zoom. Obviously, we're very happy if people wish to do that. And we also invite you in every session to acknowledge the traditional custodians and lands from where you are attending in the Zoom chat box as well. You'll see we'll be doing that through every session, and we're encouraging all the session chairs and the presenters at the conference to be doing that as we go along. But we'd also like to invite the attendees as well to do that in the chat. So I just want to say a little bit more about the overall ethos of the conference, and in particular how we've tried to approach issues of inclusion, accessibility, and diversity throughout the whole of the threads and the organisation of the conference. And our sense is a lot of conferences do speak to these terms, but often putting it into practice can be really challenging, especially in a holistic sense. So we're just going to spend a little bit of time talking about that. I think one thing that we want to emphasize in terms of inclusion early on is that we made a decision that this would be a hybrid conference. We actually originally set out to run this conference well, we put a proposal in 4 years ago, so we could never expect the situation that's actually happened to happen. But 2 years ago, when we started to put the details of the conference into place, we committed to this having an online component, but also an in-person component, if possible, if the pandemic allowed us to do that. Really also trying to emphasize the fact that hybrid conferences that do in-person and online at the same time sometimes cannot be the best of experiences, which is why we've really committed to having this online program and an in-person program as well. Something else that we've really tried to do, which comes from a perspective of inclusion, is whilst we're running this online conference, we've tried to be really careful about how we think about how the program will align with different time zones. So just have this slide on the screen here, just to give you a sense of some of the things we were trying to think about early days, which now are totally embedded in the philosophy of the online conference itself. So we committed to having these 2 time zone windows, and effectively we've referred to these as high touch points between different time zones around the world, where at least several continents can come together to spend some time together at the conference. So we have a high touch point zone, which for those of us in the UK, such as myself, would be in the morning. So that was at between 7 and 10 UTC. And then we've got a high touch point zone, which is happening now. And the idea is in the morning, that could be more accessible to the Asia Pacific and Australasians, as well as Europe and Africa. And the one in the afternoon is more welcoming and more amenable to those participants in the Americas. And of course, people can participate across all of the touchpoint zones if they want, and there will be some content that's only available in certain sessions, but we've tried to make this as easy as possible. And one of the big things that we've also tried to do with this is to design the program around these touchpoint zones to make it as inclusive as possible for different presenters. So it's not just that we're trying to organize these touch points for the audience to engage with them, but we've also tried to make sure that we can schedule in our presenters so that they present from times of the day which are fairly reasonable to them. I think many of us have ended up going to these online conferences for the last 2 years, and you get scheduled into a talk that's at 3 o'clock in the morning, and there might be still a bit of that going on with PDC, but as much as possible, we've tried to really make it as easy and as flexible as possible for people. I have a few other points that I want to say as well in terms of this ethos around inclusion and accessibility for the conference. We've tried to lower barriers of accessibility to the conference as well by lowering the fee structure. So hopefully this is an affordable conference for as many people as possible. At different points during the conference, you will see that we provide remote simultaneous interpretation and captioning. We have throughout the whole of the conference tried to provide a lot of support for newcomers to the field of participatory design. So we ran short briefing sessions to people that were thinking about submitting a paper to the conference for the very first time, and also try to support people who are thinking about proposing workshops or situated actions or other types of contributions that speak to their practice before putting pen to paper on a more complex paper contribution. We've also provided a lot of support, and I say we, it's primarily Yoko, to provide a lot of support around how to give acknowledgements of traditional custodians, because we know this is something we wanted to thread throughout the whole of the conference, but actually it can cause some anxiety for some. So we've put a lot of materials together, which hopefully will be valuable for future conferences to support people that will be new to these customary actions for many to be able to do this in the future. We've tried to make sure content for the conference is accessible beyond the live sessions. So most sessions, as I said, are being recorded, and the videos will persist on the PDC website so that people that aren't able to come to live sessions because of work commitments, because of personal commitments, because of family life, can still access all of that fantastic content. And I also, it's important to say a quick thank you as well to our keynotes. We had Ahmad Ansari this morning, who did a fantastic opening keynote, which was really challenging and provocative for our community. And we've got 3 other fantastic keynotes that will be coming up over the course of the next 2 weeks as well. And each of them have waived their fees for the conference, which has enabled us to give more fee waivers to members of the community that quite simply would not be able to afford to come to a conference like this in normal times. And the final point here on this slide is about PDC places. And the places was really at the core of this ethos of us trying to create a conference that was more inclusive, diverse, and accessible. And this was this idea of creating these distributed mini events, although some of them are conferences in their own right, that are going to be around the world, which are responding to local challenges and concerns and questions around participatory design. To devolve and decentralize the running of the conference and to enable more people to participate, you might not be able to come to a place like Newcastle upon Tyne for an in-person conference. And that's been an absolute fantastic success. And thanks to all of the PDC Place hosts that have organized those, and also to Reemta Oak and Andy Dearden, who have been our PDC Place chairs. I just want to say a little bit more about places as well. So we actually have 16 PDC places in total. I should say, when we first started to plan PDC 2022 and the idea of the places came about, we're probably thinking we might have maybe 1 per continent. So we're looking at, well, maybe there might be 4 or 5 PDC places if we can get people interested in hosting them. But we didn't want to restrict it. So we've ended up with 16, which is fantastic. And as I say, we're super excited and thrilled that there's been so much energy and positivity around the PDC places. You will see in the online program, the PDC place activities are woven within the online program and the Newcastle program for the PDC conference itself. We've done that to try and give greater visibility to all of these events that are going on. If you go to the program, you will see that some of the places actually have local events that are in person and not online. So they're there really as a bit of a for your information. But if you happen to be in that place, obviously you can go and attend those sessions. But they're also, many of them are also providing online sessions as well, which can be accessible through the main PDC website, or they provide details on how you can get in touch with them to go and access one of their sessions. The ways in which to find out a bit more about the PDC places, well, if you go to the scheduling website and you click on the tabs on the side, you can just go to the places, which will show you a page which looks a little bit like this, with all of the places listed. And then if you go through, you'll be able to see all of the various events and sessions that each place is running. Or you can click upwards and go to the main program. As I say, this will give a detailed list of all of the sessions for the conference. But if you go through the filtering system, you can choose to just view PDC places, and that will show you the PDC place specific program without all of the other stuff that's going on. And we'd really, again, like to stress it was a fantastic opportunity to engage with these fantastic communities that are around the world that have engaged with the Place Initiative for the first time for this conference. We will also be running a bunch of sessions throughout the course of the online program of the conference itself, which are trying to give some emphasis to the activity that's been going on in places. So we had a showcase this morning, and there's another showcase next week, as well as 2 PDC Place dedicated panels. So please encourage you to engage with those as much as possible. And I think at that point, it's numbers time, and I'll pass over to Yoko.
Numbers time. I'm not that good with numbers.
Your qualities, aren't you, and experiences rather than numbers.
Well, I'm actually, well, no, John talked about PDC places, but I'm going to be joining Tamaki Makarau, which is Aotearoa, New Zealand, which is actually not that far away from where I am in Melbourne, on Kulin Nation lands. So hi everybody, I'm Yoko Akama. I'm from the School of Design at RMIT, and I'm attending from Bunurong and Woiwurrung lands of the Kulin Nation, now called Australia. So I got this really unattractive slide. I don't know why, because I designed all the slides and I get this boring one. But here we go. The statistics are very impressive. 52 papers with 24 full papers and 32 exploratory papers. 13 workshops, 8 situated actions, 19 doctoral colloquium participants, 16 PDC places, as John mentioned, and altogether they're hosting 73 events. So that's an enormous amount of work, again by Reem and Andy and all the PDC place hosts. There's 37 sessions in the online program and 32 for those who are attending Newcastle in person. And I think we've got about 350 and increasing registrations, because Rachel said that they're trickling in even as we speak. That's, I don't know how much the tickets were. I mean, I should remember, but that's a lot. That's, you know, I don't know. It's like a couple of dollars per session. It's just, you know, absolute bargain. So you shouldn't be complaining. Not that you would. In fact, you should be really excited. We are anyway. So all of that basically means it's a very long program, and obviously today's sort of day one. Even though the PDC places have been doing various events all around the world for a lot longer, and they will continue to do so way beyond the 1st of September. But this is sort of the way the main program is looking, and John mentioned the 2 touch points, or the high touch point time zones. So that top band, where most sessions for Europe, Africa, and those of us like myself in the Australasia region can most comfortably access. I'm slurring my words because I'm actually not in that region at the moment. I'm in America's region now. So that's between 7 and 10 UTC. And then for those who just joined us, good morning, welcome from the Americas zone. So that's 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. in the UTC. Obviously, there's lots of other stuff that kind of overlap both of those zones, and like the situated actions, but also in Newcastle, when we actually all together will sort of run most of the program throughout the whole day, and make most of those as hybrid, so folks can continue to join us there as well. So I'm just going to run through a few things that are scheduled for today before I welcome Raphael and Rachel and Ez on. So for those of us who's joined right now from the Americas, the first thing that we're very excited to see is the Beyond Academia, Making versus Breaking Rules in Social Justice. So that's on next. Then we have a bit of a break for 15 minutes. And then John Vines, who you saw, will be chairing a session, a panel discussion called Structures of Injustices. And that basically concludes today's session, with tomorrow, day 2, of a workshop that's taking place called Relationality, Commoning and Designing. So lots and lots to see. So I'm now going to invite Raphael and Rachel and Ez to turn their screens on, and hand over to Raphael to commence the next session.